In the final month before I retired, I wrote down everything I was afraid of: the boredom, the loss of identity, the feeling of irrelevance, the possibility that without the structure of work I would not know who I was. I kept the list. At my 10-year retirement anniversary, I found it and read through it. Almost nothing on it had actually happened, and most of what had actually happened in 10 years was not on the list at all. I have been retired for 40 years now. I retired at 52. I have had longer in retirement than most people spend in their entire careers. And from that vantage point, I want to tell you something plainly. The fears that dominate the approach to retirement are almost uniformly aimed at the wrong things. What retirement actually contains, what was waiting for me on the other side of the career, was something nobody had mentioned. Here is what they don't tell you. At 62, reading through that list, the thing that struck me most was not what was on it, but what was absent from it. I had not listed the depth of friendship possible when both people have the afternoon free. I had not listed what grandchildren are like when there is no other claim on your attention. I had not listed the particular pleasure of waking with no obligation on the day. I had not listed the quality of concentration available when nothing is pulling at the edges of the mind. I had been afraid of the wrong things entirely. The boredom I feared, it came for the first 3 months and then left as I built into the days. The loss of identity I feared, it was real, and I will speak to it. But it resolved into something better, not into nothing. The fears were aimed at absences, at the removal of structure, purpose, identity. What I found was not absence. It was the return of things that had been crowded out. The fears looked at what retirement takes away. They did not see what it gives back. Nobody told me what time actually feels like when you have enough of it. I had spent my entire career in a state of mild urgency, never quite caught up, always more to do than the day allowed. Tuesday at 2 in the afternoon was always already spoken for. There was never a morning that didn't have somewhere to be by 9. In retirement, that lifted. Not immediately. The first month still carried the old pattern, the old reflex of urgency that hadn't received the message yet. But over the first 2 years, something that had been wound up for 30 years, unwound. I found myself fully present in mornings in a way I had not been since childhood. I found I could sit with a book for 3 hours without the background noise of what I should be doing instead. I found I could have a conversation with someone I cared about and give it all of my attention. The self that is available when time is not scarce is a calmer, more curious, more present person than the one the career required. I had not known him. I met him properly in retirement. He is considerably better company. My relationships deepened across the board in retirement, and I mean across the board, with my wife, who had been sharing a house with a man who was mostly elsewhere, even when physically present. The career had made me a visitor in my own marriage in ways I hadn't clearly seen from inside it. In retirement, I became actually available. It changed her experience of the marriage entirely, and mine, with my children, who had a version of their father they had not had access to before. Not the distracted version, not the tired version, not the version who was present in body but absent in attention. The version who had an afternoon and wanted to spend part of it with them. With old friends who now had full days available. With new people I would never have encountered inside the professional bubble. My career had required that relationships live within its schedule, its energy, its leftover time. In retirement, that constraint lifted, and the relationships, most of them, grew to fill the space that opened. I had not expected this. I had not listed relationships will deepen on the fear list because it hadn't occurred to me to hope for it. It happened anyway. I had been afraid that without my professional identity, I would not know who I was. What I found was something I had not anticipated. Without the professional identity, I discovered who I actually was underneath it. Preferences and interests I had kept marginal during the career because they didn't serve it. A curiosity about certain things I had kept moving past because there was no time. A way of spending a day that I had never allowed myself because the right way to spend a day was the productive way. The professional identity had not been dishonest. It was a version of me, just a version organized around the career's requirements. What was underneath it was older and quieter, and I found considerably more mine. In the first 2 years of retirement, I felt something like the experience of returning home after a very long trip. Not everything was exactly as I had left it, but the essential things were still there, and I recognized them. Retirement did not remove my identity. It returned one, a version of myself that had been patient enough to wait 52 years for the career to finish. At 92, I understand clearly why the fears before retirement are so powerful. They are the fears of someone who has organized their entire life around work, looking at life without it. Of course, it looks empty from inside the work. The work is all that's visible from that position. The things that will fill retirement are not visible from inside the career because they have been crowded to the margins for 30 years. You cannot see them clearly from your desk, but they are there. The quality of time I described, it was there before I retired. I just hadn't been able to experience it because there was no time available to experience it in. The relationships, they were always there, waiting for more of the day. The identity underneath the professional one, it had been waiting its entire adult life. The empty feeling you imagine when you picture retirement is not what retirement feels like. It is what retirement looks like from inside a full career. When you arrive, you find it is already full of things that have been waiting years for room to breathe. The life on the other side of your career is not an absence. It is a presence. It is the presence of time that belongs entirely to you, of relationships freed from the schedule of the career, of a self that has been waiting with considerable patience for the career to finish so it can have a full day. I know that from inside the career it does not look this way. I know the fear is real, and the uncertainty is real, and the imagined emptiness is genuinely alarming from where you are standing. I kept a list of everything I was afraid of. At 10 years, I found the list. Almost none of it had happened. Trust that the life is there. It is. It has been waiting for you.